I love the Heidelberg Catechism. The second question in the Heidelberg Catechism is something like, how can we know the joy of comfort in life and in death? And the answer is three parts. We need to know your sin and your misery. Then you need to know that you've been set free from your sin and your misery. And then you can live with gratitude to God for setting you free from your sin and your misery. What I love about that answer is that it starts with honesty about misery. If you want to live with the joy of comfort and to die in the joy of comfort, it starts by recognizing the truth about the world and the truth about yourself. And that means acknowledging misery. The fact that we've banished death from polite conversation and from our minds for the most part doesn't mean we aren't experiencing death and its effects all throughout our lives. What it means is that we just aren't able to properly diagnose the problems we're living with, that we're treating them, symptoms of those problems, with Tylenol. What we need is antibiotics. Our detachment from death hasn't kept us from insecurity over who we are and why we matter, hasn't kept us from feeling dissatisfied and disappointed when the things we think are going to give us pleasure don't end up satisfying. It hasn't kept us from losing everything we love to time and what it takes from us. So we haven't actually escaped death in our lives. We shouldn't escape or try to avoid talking about it either. When we don't recognize that it's death's faces that we're seeing in the problems and the pain that we live with, we aren't able to apply the solution that Jesus came to offer us. We aren't able to see the power and the privilege of knowing the one who's the resurrection and the life and seeing his power transform our pain. But if we get clear about where our misery really is, where it comes from, then we're able to see that he really can set us free from that misery. And once we see that he really can set us free, then we can live with gratitude, even when other things in our lives aren't what we wish that they were. So many of us deal with stress and frustration, futility and loss, and can often be frustrated that God would allow these sorts of things into our lives. We're focused on all the what ifs, and we stress and strive to make them reality, when what we could be focusing on is what is, the rock solid, inevitable certainty that our lives are going to end, and that Jesus came to do something about that. That Jesus didn't just come to do something about that, he perfectly solved that problem. And now we can live with lives that are less than what we wish they were, because we know these lives are not the only experiences that we're ever going to have. That we can be grateful for the offering that God has made to us of a new day, a new heavens and a new earth, where even the sweetest of joys we're experiencing now and their incompleteness won't compare to what we experience forever then. And where even the most painful things we experience now are really only whetting our appetite for the world in which there will be no more tears, no more sorrow, and no more death. So unleashing Jesus' promises against the real culprit underneath all of our problems is part of how we live with those problems in joy while we wait for him to make all things new.